You would assume that with all these government agencies like the FDA and just the government itself, just kind of overseeing a lot of the stuff with the food that is being offered to us as Americans, that our food supply would be generally good or healthy. But
scientists are sounding the alarm that a growing number of grocery store items are ultra processed, and that leads to health concerns. Researchers say ultra processed foods, the high in fats, starches, sugars, and additives, now make up 73% of the US food supply, even though they are linked to health issues like diabetes, obesity, cancer, and depression. Scientists now say these foods should be regulated with tobacco-style warnings and advertising bans. Let's bring in Trish Cott.
So first off the bat, what do you think about that? Like having labels warning this may cause such and such, cancer, all this other stuff in our foods. They do it with cigarettes and all these other products, but foods, the one thing that everybody does consume, everybody eats food, right? Vegetables, meat, whatever it is, you're in your diet, you're eating food.
She is the global lead for the food policy program at the public health organization Vital Strategies. Trish, explain to our viewers the difference between minimally processed, processed, and ultra processed foods as it relates to our health.
Okay, so minimally processed foods are those foods that you would normally consider to be fresh foods, freely available, that you can make in.
Usually, like the minimally processed foods is like, fruits and vegetables, stuff like that. Stuff that is processed, to get to you as a consumer, but it's just really not much done. Maybe sometimes they've washed and cleaned, maybe added some coloring, but fresh fruits, stuff like that, that they might be just slightly, altered in a sense, but not much, like maybe frozen or whatever.
Make home cooked meals with. Ultra processed foods are products, not necessarily foods, that you can't make in your home kitchen. They're things that are
Right, she's having problems getting the words out. Ultra processed foods, okay, has some of the stuff that I mentioned before. They're high in fats, highs in sugar, highs in sodium, those types. And the other thing is that most likely they have ingredients in the label that you're not going to understand what they mean. They're like scientific, science names. And some of them are not, but if they have so many ingredients, it's a very high percentage that it is ultra processed. Sometimes they just give in the pass, like, oh, you don't have to mention that and that you have that. It's just very weird, which we'll get into another video with that.
Use edible ingredients that are pulled apart, put back together using industrial processing. The end result is they add to it a cocktail of additives, emulsifiers, colors, flavors, and the end result is something that's really hyper palatable. There's a texture that's attractive, and these products are, in the end, quite desirable and tasty. They're ready to eat, ready to heat, and unfortunately...
Ready to eat, meaning like most of your microwavable dinners or canned meals are highly processed. And there are some stuff that is frozen that is also ultra processed. But this is very interesting to me that 73% of our food that is being offered to us is ultra processed. The stuff that is not good for you. So basically you have, if 73%, you have the 28% of the food is not ultra processed. And that's if you want to keep away, so you only shopping with 23% of the food. If you want to keep it ultra processed. How did we get here? That's what I want to know. How did we get here? I mean, I know cost and all that other stuff has a lot to do with it. It's cheaper for a lot of this ultra processed food to be sold. It's just not easier to prepare, but there's less waste because a lot of the stuff is just mixed in and, expiration date is extended. So I see those ideas that are, I guess that's a positive for them. But for us, the consumers, it's not good.
They are taking up way too much of a component of our diet. because they lead to some serious health consequences.
Which types of foods that our viewers have in their fridge and pantries right now would you recommend they reconsider due to the health risks?
Look, a diet that's high in ultra-processed foods is an unhealthy diet. So the products that consumers really should...
You should stay away from fast food restaurants. I should say that one thing. just to say, a lot of the stuff that they get in there is ultra processed. It comes in frozen and it's just reheated for us. That's why it's quickly able to be consumed or prepared. But that's just one example that I would say. But again, if you go to the supermarket, if you're getting stuff from cans or microwave frozen stuff, again, it's iffy. Sometimes the stuff is really just fresh and frozen with very limited ingredients added to it. It's still the stuff that's frozen with a bunch of ingredients that you're reading like, oh, I thought this was just this, but why does it have all these ingredients? And half of them I can't even pronounce. It's most likely ultra processed. But besides all these facts about how bad this food is for you, at the end of the day, is ultra processed bad? Not processed good. But at the end of the day, should we have labels like we put in cigarettes on this food? Like I'm usually the opposite of trying to have the government in their agencies kind of overlooking companies and stuff like that, products and goods like this. But when it comes to people's health, that's like the one role I guess the government should intervene in. So of course there's a couple others, but definitely people's health you would assume. And it's really because not everybody understands this, and it's just put the information out there. If you're putting it for all these other stuff, why not food, the one thing that everybody has to deal with? Everybody eats. Not everybody smokes, not everybody does a lot of these things that are harmful for you, but everybody consumes food some way or another. At least give them the opportunity to look at, hey, if it's bad. That's just my opinion.
You may be familiar with a common ingredient in sunscreen called titanium dioxide. It's an additive that helps block the sun's harmful rays when used as directed. What you may not...
So now we are putting sunscreen in our foods. And that don't even sound good. Titanium dioxide, it doesn't sound good. But this is how bad it is that the food that is being, prepared for us. This is pretty messed up.
Realize is that the chemical is turning up on many people's dinner tables as well. Food makers use the ingredient to brighten the colors of some grocery items like mozzarella cheese, salsa, cake frosting. And you may not even be aware because these companies are not required to include titanium dioxide in the ingredients.
So not only are they putting something that is really not meant to be consumed for food in foods, they're also not even required to put that they are putting it in. So it's just out of all the things that there's like a looseness as far as like regulating and just oversight on, food you think would be the one thing that should be a little bit the most stringent, more serious. That's the way I look at it. This is food. Do you have to now start getting like a professional person to tell you what to eat? Because you can't read the labels. They make it in a way that, again, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but not really in a sense. Some stuff is really, if they're not even putting the information there for you to know that it's bad for you, that's pretty messed up on its own right there. But at the very least, I agree with the warning labels. I kind of agree with some of these warning labels. As much as I would have made fun of warning labels for stuff that you eat, we'll make fun of it before, maybe made a joke about it here and there. It's the truth. Not everybody knows that certain things are bad for you. So if you put a warning label, whatever, I don't see that as the worst thing that could be done. It actually is a positive, I think. But before I ramble off, let's just continue.
You might just see artificial color listed. It's been banned in food in the European Union since 2022, and some health groups here in the U.S. are raising concerns, even asking for the FDA to follow suit. The Wall Street Journal addressed some scientists' concerns about this in an article titled "Why Americans Are Eating a Sunscreen Ingredient in Their Frozen Pizza." Yikes. Joining us now is David Julian McClemens. He says,
So, look, you can go down the rabbit hole, and the FDA has been accused of being very tough on some industries and this and that. And then in some industries, they've asked the industry to help, and then they basically give them like a free pass on a lot of the stuff that they're doing that is wrong. And again, you're going to go down the rabbit hole and kind of look at some of the history not the history they have done, but, look in their history and look at the stuff that they have done. And some stuff is very, very sketchy. But if this is something that even other countries are banning, why is it that United States, we are still dealing with stuff that, out of all of the countries, you think we would be ahead of all these countries on stuff like this, but we fall behind for some weird reason.
Professor in food science at the University of Massachusetts Amherst, thank you so much for being with us on this. I didn't realize any of this, and I read the ingredients, but you don't know if something says artificial flavor or artificial color. So we talked about some of them. What kind of products typically include titanium dioxide?
Yeah, it's a whole series of different products. So things like chewing gum and sauces and dressings, lots of cakes and baked goods. But I think one of the concerns is a lot of the products that are in are the ones that children tend to eat more than adults, especially lots of sweets and cakes and cookies and things like that.
Is there any research about how safe or not safe this is to eat?
Yeah, there's a lot of research, and some of it's quite contradictory. I think there's a lot of studies with animals, and we've done some in our department where if you feed titanium dioxide to animals, it can cause sort of inflammation and get into different organs and have some adverse effects on them. But I think on humans, it's much less clear what the adverse effects are.
Okay, gotcha.
All right, so in recap, look, some people might take this a very different way that I see it, and that's okay. All I'm really trying to do is bring some awareness, bring this topic up, because I always think it's crazy. I hear a lot of the stuff, people say you are what you eat, but if you're eating all this garbage, then that means you're garbage in a sense, right? 73% is a very, very high number. That should be a little bit under control. And if it's not going to be controlled, at least let people know that you're eating food that is not the best for you. It's okay, I guess, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, but if you are basically flooding the market with this type of food, 70%, and you only have 27% of the food is healthy, it makes it a little tough. I really do believe they should push that warning in there, because I think if not, it's just going to keep on getting worse and worse and worse, because eventually it's going to be like 80% or 90%, and it's like, what, you're going to be working with 10% of the food supply that's going to be healthy? So yeah, that's my pick or my take on this. Be safe. Leave your comments below. Peace. Subscribe if you haven't.